and theorists, asks provocatively why young architects need to study the history of architecture. If architecture is about finding solutions to social, technological, and cultural problems, why do we care about the Greek orders or the architecture of the Quattrocento? Cousins goes on to compare architecture to medicine and law, two other professions that emerged in the 19th century, and he wonders if anyone would suggest that the training of a doctor should include learning medical procedures of the Middle Ages. Like architecture, the profession of psychoanalysis is also interested in the past, not the historical past of the field, but rather the past of its patients. Psychoanalysis studies the human mind and relationships by investigating autobiographical past. This analytic process, long, intense, and at times deeply fulfilling, aims or claims to help the patient live a better life. But can we ask about architecture the same question that Mark Cousins asked? But can we ask about psychoanalysis the same provocative question that Mark Cousins asks about architecture? Does building a better future depend on studying the joyous and traumatic memories of the past? Why are events that happened long ago relevant to our present and future aspirations? Is dwelling on the past more than just a self-centered indulgence? I will suggest that both Mark Cousins from the field of architecture and psychoanalyst Hans Loewald view the past in a unique and related way. For them, the past is not a point behind us on a linear trajectory from before to after. Rather, they see the past as a live part of our present experience, which must be accepted in order to cure the psyche and construct meaningful environments. Loewald develops a theoretical structure that frames his views of sublimation, religion, transference, and time. To grasp Loewald's theory, we will first briefly recall Freud's views of sublimation and religion, and trace the chiastic symmetry between Freud and Loewald's different understandings of these experiences. I will then consider the similarity between Mark Cousins' view of an architectural past and Loewald's view of a psychic past. I will end by touching all too briefly on Loewald's most radical claim that the psychoanalytic process of relinking past, present, and future is in itself an ethical process and a moral achievement. So let's start with sublimation. Sublimation, Freud writes, is the conversion of lower instinctual desire into a higher level of art. The sexual energies of the artist are transformed, their aim shifted from an Oedipal forbidden object to higher sublime creation of art, science, and culture. Loewald saw the relationship of infantile wishes to adult creativity quite differently. The infant, according to Loewald, initially sees the world as an undifferentiated unity, in which there is no separation between subject and object, baby and breast, me and you. As we mature, we learn to differentiate between ourselves and the outer world, and become able to participate in actions that require a relationship to other people and things. But the original experience of oneness, primary process, and unconscious mentation remain alive in our adult psychic life and continue to play a crucial role in creative sublimatory processes. Sublimation for Loewald is not a conversion or a transformation of childlike wishes into higher cultural product. Rather, it is a binding of these different human modes of experience, linking the original unity to a more mature, complex, language-based, differentiated reality. I'm now going to quote, "A last comment on those works of the human imagination, the production of science, art, philosophy, religious thought, and ritual, that are sublimation par excellence. Those we admire most, hold us spellbound, fill us with awe, partake of the magic they summon, and master secrets of nature. May we assume that this magic is connected with the achievement of a reconciliation, with the return on a higher level of organization to early magic of thought, gesture, word, image, emotion, fantasy, as they become united again with what in ordinary non-magical experience are only reflected, recollected, represented, or symbolized. Could sublimation, Loewald continues, be both a mourning of a lost original oneness and a celebration of oneness regained? Freud and Loewald's attitudes to religion parallel their different understandings of sublimation. Freud saw religion, like sublimation, as an infantile defensive expression of wishes to be protected by an omnipotent God or Father, an illusion which should be overcome. Maturation demands that the primitive believer be elevated to a modern, secular, rational man. As we have seen, Loewald saw sublimation as a healthy binding of infantile narcissism to adult differentiation, and similarly, he understood religious and mystical moments as experiences that tap into alternative levels of reality which predate rational and verbal organization, connecting us back to our original state of unity with the world. The oceanic sense of eternity, Loewald writes, is a state in which the category of time, I'm quoting, does not apply. In the experience of eternity, time is abolished. And he emphasizes that the reality of time and the experience of eternity are both, quoting, neither the felt version nor the verbalized version, it seems to me, should be called an illusion. If we acknowledge the undifferentiating unconscious as a genuine mode of mentation, end quote. Loewald continues to lament that certain forms of religious experience, which are aspects of unconscious mentation, are, quote, in much of modern civilization, more deeply repressed than sexuality is today, end quote. Professor Jones ends his paper on this topic with a clear quote from Loewald, mentioning the word God, which he avoids in most of his psychoanalytic papers. And I'm quoting, "The mature individual, being able to reach back into his deep origins and roots of being, finds in himself the oneness from where he stems, and understands this in the freedom as his bond of love with God." Religion, seen by Freud as a regressive primitive illusion, is understood by Loewald as a vital capacity to oscillate between different modes of reality, a sign of true aliveness and a capacity to contain a wide range of human experiences. And I'm quoting, the range and riches of human life is directly proportional to the mutual responsiveness between these various phases and levels, writes Loewald. As we have seen, Loewald puts linking in the center of sublimation and religious experiences. Similarly, he sees linking as a central aspect of understanding psychic time. And I will quote, "We encounter time in psychic life primarily as a linking activity in which what we call past, present, and future are woven into a nexus. The nexus itself is not so much one of succession, but of interaction. Past, present, and future present themselves in psychic life not primarily as one preceding or following the other, but as modes of time which determine and shape each other, which differentiate out of and articulate a pure now. There is no irreversibility on a linear continuum as in the common concept of time as succession, but a reciprocal relationship whereby one time mode cannot be experienced or thought without the others, and whereby they continually modify one another." This is from his paper from 1972, The Experience of Time. The past, as Loewald explains, is alive in us now, and our present recasts and recreates the past. I react anxiously when I remember a traumatic moment, and this anxiety occurs in my mind and my body now. Memories are also not fixed. Our present understanding modifies what we remember. It is this past that is alive in the present, which we expose in psychoanalysis. The analytic transference is a particular way of remembering, Loewald says, which links the patient past to the central relationship with the analyst in present time. The analytic task is to understand and relink those moments in time, unity and multiplicity, body and language. Time, like sublimation and religion, is always a process of linking. We have seen how Loewald understood sublimation, religion, and time as connecting a past unity to a present that includes in it differentiation. I can now return to Mark Cousin's lecture and to a distinction he makes between having a history and having a past. A history of architecture, Cousin suggests, is a succession of chronological events and buildings resembling the profession's resume of accomplishments. Much more important, says Cousins, is to have a past. A past, a non-historical past, as he calls it, does not reside in earlier times. Like Loweld's psychic time, it is alive in us now. To say I have a past, or he has a past, Cousin tells us, is to say there are problems which are present and alive in me or in him, and which need to be addressed. Architects work on problems which concern society since antiquity. They wonder with previous generations of planners how to create civic and democratic space. And they study with builders of the past how to transition from public space into the interiority of a home. Cousins suggests that the past of architecture is similar to the individual's past as discovered in psychoanalysis. And he demonstrates a beautiful little vignette of how the past powerfully lives in the present in his lecture, Architecture and His Pasts, which you can find on YouTube. Cousin's past, he shows, his parents' divorce and his longing for his father, is alive in him now and expressed through his inability and refusal to drive. He is waiting for his father to come back and teach him how to use the gears. The abandonment, hope, mourning are all encapsulated in his current being as a non-driving person. The architectural past, like the past of the individual, registers problems that are alive even if unnoticed. Architects continue to wrestle with the fundamental human and social problems, the grand questions of public space, and the small problems of a doorway. Cousins describes the architectural past in a manner that resonates with psychic past as we have seen it in Loewald. He says, and I'm quoting, "The investigation of the architectural past starts not with the origin of architecture, but certainly in the present. And so to become adept about the architectural past is not about listening to architectural theory or to architectural design, but in developing a kind of intuitive recognition that there is something unspoken. Indeed, different people will identify different pasts. The past no longer has an ontological, veridical moment of unmasking it all. Different schools of architecture could develop different accounts of the architectural past. It would be an analysis of the problems which we're met with now." Cousins and Loewald both describe a past that links memories of archaic experiences and fundamental human problems to present life and future hopes, overcoming what others may call repression, dissociation, or splitting. But what is perhaps Loewald's most radical claim is that by linking this past to the present, the psychoanalytic endeavor becomes a moral achievement. Loewald writes, "I believe it is not unscientific to know ourselves also in the sense of exploring the moral implications of our therapeutic goals and of our scientific passions. And I think it is an unwarranted limitation to maintain that self-knowledge, making the unconscious conscious, transforming id into ego, is a purely objective matter of self-observation and self-understanding, and not a moral phenomenon, an activity in in and of itself. My experience resonates with Loewald's claim that the long, intentional, and painful process of psychoanalysis is not only a way to alleviate pain and awaken creativity, but also a process of becoming a moral person. We become aware of ourselves, our limitations, projections, trauma, and strengths through analysis. In much memorial activity, I'm quoting Loewald again, which weaves past, present, and future into a context of heightened meaning, each of us is on a path to becoming a self. If I had more time, I would have liked to explore the view of morality as a temporal, internal, evolutionary process. Iris Murdoch, the philosopher and writer, in her essay, The Idea of Perfection, describes morality as a private process of struggle and progress to become a person able to interpret the other, not accurately, as she says, but justly and lovingly. For me, this ongoing inner work is a goal and achievement of psychoanalysis, and I wonder if it can become also a goal of architecture. Making our past a vital living aspect of our present self makes us human and allows us to react with care to our own traumas and treat kindly the needs of those around us. It allows us to mourn, love, and become creative. Thank you.